On Friday evening, candles are lit in a Jewish home. In the kitchen, separate dishes are kept for meat and dairy. In the synagogue, they wait for the 10th participant before beginning certain prayers. And a person who has lost his father recites an ancient text that does not contain a single word about death. It may seem like a collection of strange rules, but behind each one lies a system of memory, law, and responsibility. Judaism is often described in a single sentence: the ancient religion of the Jewish people. That is true, but it is far from the whole truth. Judaism is also a way of preparations, time, debating, eating, mourning, studying, and remaining a people after centuries of exile. Today, we will uncover 10 hidden facts about Judaism. These are not mystical secrets, but verifiable facts that can change the way we understand Jewish tradition. The first will reveal why Judaism cannot easily be contained within the word religion. The last will explain why the best-known prayer of Jewish mourners says nothing about death at all.
2 seconds.
If honest stories about Jewish history and tradition matter to you, support this video with a like and subscribe to the channel. That is how subjects like these receive a chance to be heard without myths or distortions. The first hidden fact: Judaism is not only a faith, it is also belonging to a people and a shared history. A person can be Jewish while observing almost none of the religious commandments. Another person may be born non-Jewish, undergo a recognized conversion process, and enter not merely a religion, but the Jewish people. It is no coincidence that the biblical Ruth tells Naomi first, "Your people shall be my people, and only then, your God shall be my God." Judaism connects ancestry, memory, law, ritual, language, and communal life. A Jew who doubts religious belief does not automatically cease to belong to this history, and a person who has converted does not become a second-class Jew. Jewish law forbids humiliating a convert by reminding them of their former origin. The second hidden fact: the word Torah means more than a single scroll. In its narrowest sense, the Torah refers to the 5 books of Moses. But Jewish tradition speaks of both the written Torah and the oral Torah. The written text gives the commandment, while centuries of interpretation explain how it should be applied. Without that interpretive tradition, many biblical passages would be almost impossible to use in everyday life. For example, the phrase "an eye for an eye" was understood in rabbinic law not as an order to blind the guilty person, but as an obligation to provide financial compensation for the harm caused. Judaism therefore develops not only around the reading of the Torah scroll, but also around the house of study, where every word was examined, debated, and tested. The third hidden fact: the Talmud preserves not only the accepted answers, but also the opinions that lost the argument. Why record the position of a sage if the final ruling followed someone else's opinion? Yet the Mishnah and the Talmud often preserve the entire debate: the question, the objection, the exception, the majority opinion, and the minority voice. The tractate Eduot discusses why rejected opinion should be preserved. One explanation is that a future court should be able to see the complete path of reasoning. Another is that people should not present a minority opinion as though it were accepted law. Either way, the disagreement is not erased. This is one of the keys to Jewish intellectual culture. Respect for a sacred text does not require questions to be silenced. A page of Talmud resembles a room in which several generations are still speaking to one another. The fourth hidden fact: the famous 613 commandments do not appear in the Torah as a complete numbered list. The Talmud records the traditional count: 248 positive commandments, things one must do, and 365 prohibitions, things one must not do. But the Talmud does not provide a single complete list. Later scholars created different systems of classification, the most famous of which was compiled by Moses ben Maimon, better known as Maimonides. No individual person can observe all 613 commandments. Some apply specifically to priests, judges, farmers in the land of Israel, or particular groups of people. Many are connected to the Jerusalem temple, which was destroyed by the Romans in the 1st century. The number does not describe one person's daily checklist. It describes an entire world of responsibilities belonging to a people. The 5th hidden fact. Kosher food does not become kosher because a rabbi blesses it. The word kosher means fit or suitable, something that meets the required rules. A rabbi or kosher supervisor may inspect how food is produced, but no prayer can transform prohibited food into permitted food. What matters is the species of animal, the ingredients, the preparation process, and the utensils involved. The most visible example is the separation of meat and dairy. The Torah repeats 3 times the prohibition against cooking a young goat in its mother's milk. Rabbinic tradition developed this verse into an extensive system designed to prevent meat and dairy from being mixed. This is why observant households may have separate pots, plates, utensils, and waiting periods between meals. For a family that keeps kosher, it becomes a daily reminder that even eating does not exist outside moral and religious discipline. The broader principle matters here. Kashrut is not merely a list of foods that are allowed or forbidden. It transforms an ordinary meal into a repeated decision. Every day, a person is reminded that freedom in Judaism is not understood as the absence of boundaries, but as the ability to make conscious choices within them. We have reached the halfway point of this story. Tell us in the comments which of the first 5 facts surprised you the most. Support the video with a like or subscription, because ahead lies the fact that reveals how Judaism places human life above even one of its strictest prohibitions. The 6th hidden fact. The Jewish day begins neither in the morning nor at midnight, but in the evening. In the book of Genesis, each day is described with the words, "There was evening and there was morning." For this reason, a new calendar date begins after sunset. Shabbat enters the home on Friday evening, and a Jewish holiday begins on the evening before its date in the civil calendar. Jewish time is even more complex than that. The months follow the cycle of the moon, but the holidays must remain connected to their proper seasons. To prevent the spring festival of Passover from moving through every season of the year, the Jewish calendar adds an extra month 7 times during a 19-year cycle. It does not simply add an extra day, but an entire second month of Adar. In this way, the tradition connects the movement of the moon with the solar year. The 7th hidden fact. Saving a life may not merely permit someone to violate Shabbat, it may require them to act. Shabbat is regarded as one of the central sanctities of Judaism. But when human life is in danger, the principle of preserving life takes priority. A doctor may drive to a patient, lights may be switched on, emergency services may be called, and everything necessary must be done. Even serious uncertainty about whether a life is in danger is considered sufficient reason not to delay. This overturns a common assumption about religious law. The law does not exist so that a person may die in order to demonstrate religious strictness. In the Talmudic tradition, Shabbat was given to human beings. Human beings were not given to Shabbat. Therefore, a doctor who saves a patient on the Sabbath is fulfilling a higher obligation. Jewish law discusses a small number of extreme exceptions, but the general principle is clear. Human life possesses immense value. Piety that consciously refuses to save another person may become a dangerous error. The 8th hidden fact. The holiest name of God is traditionally not pronounced the way it is written. Jewish texts contain a divine name composed of 4 Hebrew letters. During prayer, it is read as Adonai, meaning Lord, while in ordinary speech many Jews say Hashem, meaning the name. This is not a magical password. It represents a boundary between a word and the one to whom that word refers. The divine name must not be reduced to an ordinary sound used without attention or reverence. That is why prayer books, Torah scrolls, and study halls treat sacred names with special care. What is holy must not be handled carelessly. The ninth hidden fact. A rabbi is not the Jewish equivalent of a priest, and a synagogue can function without one. The word rabbi means teacher or master. A rabbi studies sacred texts, answers questions of Jewish law, and teaches the community. But most Jewish prayers do not become valid merely because a rabbi is present. Certain communal prayers require a minyan, a gathering of 10 adult Jews. In Orthodox communities, this traditionally means 10 men. In many egalitarian communities, it means 10 adult Jews, regardless of gender. The central role belongs not to a single intermediary, but to the community itself. Judaism has no single modern leader who speaks on behalf of every Jew in the world. There are movements, schools of thought, and local authorities. This creates disagreements, but it also helps explain how Jewish tradition survived in Yemen, Poland, Morocco, Babylonia, and Lithuania, preserving a shared text while allowing different voices to remain. The 10th hidden fact. The mourner's prayer, known as Kaddish, never mentions death. It is recited after a funeral, during the period of mourning, and on the anniversary of a loved one's passing. One might assume that Kaddish speaks about the soul of the deceased, but its text focuses on the greatness of God's name, peace, and hope. It is written primarily in Aramaic, a language understood by many Jews in late antiquity. Kaddish requires a response from the community. The mourner is not left alone before the emptiness of loss. The mourner speaks, and the people standing around respond. Grief enters a space in which pain does not disappear, but is shared. Judaism does not promise that the correct words will destroy death. It provides a form in which a person can continue standing after loss. A person may weep, doubt, and still continue speaking words of life when almost no words of their own remain. What should we remember? Judaism connects faith with belonging to a people. Its tradition is built not only on a sacred text, but also on the arguments surrounding that text. The 613 commandments represent a world of responsibilities, not an identical checklist for every individual. Saving a life takes priority over almost every ritual prohibition. And Kaddish speaks not about death, but about the way a community helps the living person avoid disappearing into grief. The ancient nature of Judaism can be seen in its ability to transform a kitchen into memory, a calendar into a bond between generations, disagreement into study, and mourning into an obligation never to leave a grieving person alone. If you watched until the end, write the code word Kaddish in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who is used to seeing Judaism only as a collection of prohibitions. History becomes more accurate when memory is passed forward.